The tension in the council chamber was suffocating. Ahsoka Tano stood at the center of the circular room, surrounded by the holograms and physical presences of the most powerful Jedi Masters in the galaxy. Her heart raced as she awaited the final verdict on the treason charges that had nearly destroyed her life. Master Windu maintained his stern expression, while Yoda observed the young woman with ancient and wise eyes. Anakin Skywalker remained tense beside her, his hands clenched into fists, clearly anguished by his Padawan's situation. Obi-Wan Kenobi maintained a diplomatic posture, but his eyes revealed genuine concern. Plo Koon tilted his masked head, emanating silent support through the Force. "Absolved of all charges you are," declared Yoda, his voice echoing through the chamber with unquestionable authority. "Failed the Council has. Injustice we did against you, young Ahsoka." The Grand Master's words brought a mixture of relief and resentment to Ahsoka. On one hand, her innocence had finally been recognized. On the other, the wound of mistrust still ached deeply in her heart. Anakin stepped forward, placing his hand on his apprentice's shoulder with visible pride. "Welcome back to the Order, Ahsoka," said Windu, though his tone remained formal. Ki-Adi-Mundi nodded respectfully, acknowledging the error committed by the Council. In the following days, Ahsoka struggled internally with the decision to remain. She walked through the corridors of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, feeling different, transformed by the ordeal she had faced. Anakin sought her out in her quarters at nightfall, finding her observing the lights of the city planet through the window. "Snips, I know it was difficult," he began, using the affectionate nickname that always made her smile. "But you belong here. You belong to the Order, and you belong at my side as my Padawan." Ahsoka turned to face him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. "I almost lost my faith in the Jedi, Sky Guy," she admitted. "But not in you. Never in you." The decision to remain brought a new dynamic to their master-apprentice relationship. Anakin became more protective, more attentive to Ahsoka's feelings. They spent weeks on consecutive missions, fighting side by side in the Clone Wars with a synchronization that impressed even Obi-Wan. During an operation on Ryloth, while resting between battles, Ahsoka noticed something different in her master. There was a distraction in his eyes, a softness that appeared when he compulsively checked his communicator. "Are you all right, Master?" she asked, genuinely concerned. "Yes, Snips. Just worried about the war," Anakin responded, quickly averting his gaze. But Ahsoka was too perceptive to be easily fooled. She began to notice patterns. Anakin's unexplained absences on Coruscant, the private and whispered conversations, the way he brightened upon receiving certain messages. During a diplomatic mission to the Senate, Ahsoka saw something that confirmed her suspicions. From afar, she observed Anakin and Senator Padme Amidala exchange a look that went far beyond political courtesy. The way their fingers touched briefly, the intimacy implicit in that apparently innocent gesture. Ahsoka felt a knot in her stomach, not from disapproval, but from genuine concern for her master. She knew that relationships were forbidden for Jedi, and she feared the consequences Anakin might face. It took a few weeks until Ahsoka gathered the courage to confront Anakin. They were returning from a reconnaissance mission when she finally decided to speak. "Master, may I ask a personal question?" she inquired, keeping her tone casual but determined. Anakin seemed immediately tense. "Of course, Snips. Always." Ahsoka took a deep breath before continuing. "You and Senator Amidala? There's something between you two, isn't there?" The silence that followed was revealing. Anakin opened and closed his mouth several times, clearly torn between denying and confessing. "Ahsoka, he began, but she interrupted him. "I'm your friend, Anakin. Before being your Padawan, I'm your friend. You can trust me, always." It was this sincerity, this offer of unconditional friendship, that finally broke down Anakin's barriers. "We are married," he confessed in a whisper, and Ahsoka saw the weight of this secret finally being shared. Anakin's confession fundamentally transformed the relationship between master and apprentice. Ahsoka didn't judge, didn't reprimand. She just listened as he poured out years of guarded feelings. "I love her, Snips, more than anything in the galaxy," said Anakin, his voice laden with raw emotion. "I know it's against the code. I know I could be expelled from the Order, but I can't imagine my life without her." Ahsoka placed her hand on her master's arm, offering silent support. "Your secret is safe with me, Master. It always will be," she promised. Anakin seemed relieved, as if an immense burden had been partially removed from his shoulders. "Thank you, Ahsoka. You don't know how much this means to me." In the following weeks, Ahsoka found herself in a unique position. Anakin began to include her in discreet visits to Padme's quarters, and the young woman soon developed a genuine friendship with the senator. Padme was kind, intelligent, and clearly in love with Anakin. During an afternoon tea, while Anakin was in a meeting at the temple, Padme spoke openly with Ahsoka. "You can't imagine what it means to have someone to trust about this," said the senator, serving aromatic Naboo tea. "Living this lie, hiding this love. Sometimes it's suffocating." Ahsoka smiled with understanding. "I see how you look at each other. It's true love. I won't allow anything to threaten that." Padme reached for Ahsoka's hand across the table, her eyes shining with gratitude. The war continued its relentless march across the galaxy. But for Ahsoka, a new concern began to arise. Anakin became increasingly agitated, his nights disturbed by nightmares that left him exhausted. One night, after a particularly brutal mission, Ahsoka found her master in the meditation room, his head in his hands. "Master?" she called softly. Anakin raised his eyes, and she saw genuine fear reflected in them. "They're nightmares, Ahsoka, about Padme. I see her dying, and I can't save her." His voice broke on the last word. Ahsoka sat beside him, her presence comforting. "They're just visions, Master. The future is always in motion." Days later, Padme sought out Ahsoka privately, her expression worried. They met at a discreet cafe in the mid-levels of Coruscant, far from curious eyes. "Did Anakin tell you about the nightmares?" asked Padme, her hands trembling slightly as she held the cup. Ahsoka nodded gravely. "He's terrified, Ahsoka. I've never seen him so scared." The young Jedi reached for the senator's hand, offering support. "I'll help him, Padme. Promise. I won't let anything happen to you. He's not alone in this, and neither are you." Tears glistened in Padme's eyes as she squeezed Ahsoka's hand. "Thank you. You're a true friend to both of us." Ahsoka began to follow Anakin more closely, offering to meditate with him, trying to help him process his fears. But she also noticed another concerning change. Her master was spending more time with Chancellor Palpatine, returning from these meetings with thoughtful and disturbed expressions. During a military briefing, Ahsoka observed how Palpatine placed his hand on Anakin's shoulder, speaking in low and confidential tones. There was something in the dynamic between them that deeply troubled Ahsoka. "Master, may I ask about your meetings with the Chancellor?" she questioned cautiously as they walked back to the temple. "He's just offering guidance, Snips. Palpatine has been a good friend to me," Anakin responded, but something in his tone seemed defensive. The situation worsened when Anakin was appointed to the Jedi Council, but didn't receive the title of Master. Ahsoka was present when he returned from the meeting, his fury radiating through the Force like heat waves. "This is outrageous. It's unfair," he exclaimed, slamming his fist against the wall. "How can they do this? How can they put me on the council but not grant me the title I deserve?" Ahsoka approached him carefully, as if calming a wounded animal. "I know, Master. It is unfair. You deserved that title more than anyone." She placed her hand on his arm, trying to anchor him. "But you're still the best Jedi I know, with or without a title. And I'm still proud to be your Padawan." Her words calmed the storm inside Anakin somewhat, but Ahsoka could feel that something was changing in him, something dark and dangerous growing in the shadows. The following days brought revelations that would change everything. Anakin sought out Ahsoka late at night, his expression disturbed and confused. "The Chancellor told me something incredible," he said, sitting down heavily. He told me about a Sith Lord called Darth Plagueis, a Sith who could use the Force to influence the midichlorians to create life, even prevent death. Ahsoka felt a chill run down her spine. "Why would the Chancellor tell you a story about the Sith Master?" she asked, her voice laden with growing suspicion. Anakin seemed confused by the question. He was trying to help me with my nightmares about Padme, showing that perhaps there exists a path to save her. Ahsoka felt alarms sounding in her mind. The next morning, Ahsoka sought out Master Yoda in his meditation chamber. The old Grand Master received her with a knowing look, as if he was already expecting her visit. "Disturbed you are, young Ahsoka. Feel I can," said Yoda, his green eyes fixed on her. "Master Yoda, what do you know about Darth Plagueis?" she asked directly. The silence that followed was heavy. "Dangerous knowledge this is. Why, asking are you?" Ahsoka explained about Anakin's conversation with Palpatine, observing how Yoda's expression darkened with each word. Careful Anakin must be. Seduction of the dark side. Subtle it is. Promise easy solutions it does. But only pain and suffering they bring. Ahsoka left the meeting with her suspicions confirmed and her heart heavier than ever. She confronted Anakin again, this time with more urgency. "Master, don't you find it strange that Palpatine knows so much about the Sith? Why would a Chancellor have this knowledge?" Anakin became immediately defensive. "Palpatine is a scholar of galactic history, Snips, and he has been a true friend when the Council treated me unfairly." Ahsoka felt frustration grow in her chest. "But don't you see? He's manipulating you, saying exactly what you want to hear at the right moment." Anakin stood up abruptly. "You're wrong about him. Palpatine genuinely cares about me, unlike the Council that just uses me." The discussion ended in stalemate, with Ahsoka increasingly worried about the Chancellor's influence over her master. The days dragged on with growing tension. Ahsoka watched helplessly as Anakin drifted further and further from Jedi teachings, his frustration with the Council increasing each day. Then everything came to a critical point. Anakin sought her out, his face pale and shocked. "Ahsoka, I discovered something terrible. Palpatine, he's a Sith Lord. He's Darth Sidious." The words fell like bombs in the silence of the night. Ahsoka felt her world turn upside down, even though part of her already knew, already suspected. "Are you absolutely certain, Master?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Absolute. He told me personally. And now I need to go to Master Windu. But first, Ahsoka, I need you to do something for me." Anakin held Ahsoka's shoulders, his blue eyes intense and desperate. "Go to Padme. Protect her. Because of my dreams, because of everything. Don't leave her alone for even a moment. Promise me, Snips." Ahsoka nodded solemnly. "I promise, Master. I won't leave her side. But you promise you'll do the right thing. That you'll let the Council handle this." Anakin hesitated before agreeing, and Ahsoka felt a chill of premonition. She ran to Padme's quarters, finding the Senator. "Ahsoka? What happened?" asked Padme, alarmed by the young Jedi's expression. "Anakin asked me to stay with you. There's something happening, something big. Please, trust me." Padme nodded, and the two settled in for a long wait. Meanwhile, Anakin went to Master Windu with his devastating revelation. The Jedi Master listened in silence, his expression becoming increasingly severe. "You did well to tell us, Skywalker. This explains a lot. I'm going to the Chancellor's office now with other masters. You should wait in the Council chamber until we return." But Anakin, consumed by his fears about Padme and by the promise of power that Palpatine had offered, couldn't remain. He ran to the Chancellor's office, arriving at the critical moment. Windu was standing over a disfigured Palpatine, his saber raised for the final blow. "He must live. I need him," Anakin shouted. In a moment of desperation and confusion, Anakin attacked, cutting off Windu's hand. Force lightning leaped from Palpatine's fingers, striking the Jedi Master and launching him through the window to his death. Anakin fell to his knees, shocked by what he had done, while Palpatine smiled triumphantly. Rise, Lord Vader. Your new path begins now. In Padme's quarters, Ahsoka felt a terrible and devastating disturbance in the Force, as if thousands of voices screamed in agony. Something catastrophic had happened, something that would change the course of the galaxy forever and leave scars that would never heal completely. The door opened abruptly, and Obi-Wan Kenobi entered hurriedly, his expression devastated and laden with unbearable pain. Padme, Ahsoka, I have terrible news. Anakin, he went to the dark side. He helped the Chancellor kill other Jedi in the temple, he said, his voice breaking. Padme brought her hand to her mouth, suffocated by sobs that tore at her chest. No, it can't be true. Not my Anakin. He would never do that. Obi-Wan approached her with desperate urgency. Do you know where he is? I need to find him before it's too late, before he goes too far to come back. Padme shook her head negatively, tears streaming down her face like rivers. Obi-Wan turned to Ahsoka with pleading eyes. You know, don't you? Please, Ahsoka. I need to help him before it's too late. But Ahsoka also shook her head, faithful to her promise to protect Padme and the couple's secret. Even now, Obi-Wan left frustrated and anguished, and Padme collapsed into inconsolable tears that shook her entire body. I need to see him. I need to speak with Anakin, make him understand he's wrong, she said between desperate sobs. Ahsoka held the senator's hands firmly, trying to transmit strength through touch. Then we'll go together. I won't let you go alone to face this. I promise to protect you, and I'll keep my word. Padme nodded with growing determination, and quickly they prepared her personal ship for the journey. During the trip to Mustafar, where R2-D2 had indicated that Anakin was through his records, neither of them could fully believe what was happening. He can't have gone so far, murmured Padme, caressing her growing belly with maternal tenderness. Ahsoka placed her hand on her shoulder, offering what little comfort she could in that dark moment. We'll bring him back. Somehow we'll do it. There's still hope. The ship landed on the volcanic platform of Mustafar, the intense heat and sulfurous air immediately invading their lungs. Padme descended the ramp with impressive determination considering her condition, while Ahsoka remained close to the ship's entrance, watching every movement attentively. Anakin emerged from the Separatist facility, his face marked by guilt and conflicting determination, his eyes already showing yellow traces. Padme, you shouldn't have come here. It's dangerous, he said, running to her with outstretched arms. Obi-Wan told me terrible things. Tell me they're not true, that he's lying, she begged, grabbing his robes with trembling hands. Anakin pulled away slightly, avoiding her gaze. Obi-Wan is trying to turn you away from me, make you fear me. I did all this for you, Padme, to have the power to save you from the death I saw in my dreams. His words sounded desperate, almost insane, distorted by darkness. Together, we can rule the galaxy, make things the way we want them to be. No more lies, no more hiding. Padme recoiled horrified, her legs almost giving way beneath her. Rule? Anakin, listen to what you're saying. This isn't you. It's not the man I love. Tears ran freely down her face as she tried to reach the man she loved through the darkness that consumed him like fire. I don't know you anymore. You're going down a path I cannot follow, no matter how much I love you. Fury crossed Anakin's face like a storm, his eyes glowing with irrational anger and paranoia. Because of Obi-Wan? You're with him? You betrayed me. His hand rose instinctively, and Padme was lifted from the ground, her feet dancing in the air, her throat being compressed by an invisible and relentless force. She struggled for air desperately, her hands clawing at her own neck uselessly, her eyes wide with terror. Master, stop! You're going to kill her! Shouted Ahsoka, running from the ship with her sabers ignited and bright. Her voice cut through the red fog of Anakin's rage like a penetrating ray of clarity. Anakin turned abruptly to Ahsoka, his control over Padme relaxing slightly, allowing her to fall to the ground coughing and gagging painfully. You? What are you doing here? Are you against me too? His voice was laden with pain, betrayal, and fury mixed together. Ahsoka kept her sabers lowered, but ready to defend. I'm doing exactly what you asked me to do, Master. I haven't left her side since you asked me to protect her hours ago, she responded, her voice firm but laden with deep emotion. But it seems the greatest danger here is you. The man before me is not my master. The words hit Anakin like physical blows, penetrating the armor of rage. He looked at Padme fallen on the rocky ground, coughing and holding her neck, then at his own trembling hands, horror spreading across his face. What have I done? Padme, he murmured, falling to his knees beside her. Help me get her to the ship. Please, Snips, help me. Ahsoka ran to help Padme stand. Anakin carried her gently to the ship, his remorse almost suffocating in the air. During the flight back to Coruscant, the atmosphere was tense and laden with fear. Padme woke suddenly and screamed in pain, her face contorting in agony. The babies! They're coming! The medical droids on the ship did what they could, but it was an emergency situation without adequate equipment. Ahsoka held Padme's hand while she screamed in pain during contractions. Anakin on the other side, his tears falling freely onto their intertwined hands. You're going to be fine. The babies are going to be fine. Please hold on. He repeated like a desperate mantra to any power that could hear him. First came Luke, crying loudly with healthy lungs. Then Leia, equally vigorous and determined. Padme held the twins in her exhausted arms, her face pale but radiant with maternal love. Anakin looked at his children, and something changed profoundly in his face at that sacred moment. The darkness that had consumed him began to recede. Pushed back by the overwhelming love, he felt seeing those small defenseless beings. My children, my family, he whispered with reverence, delicately touching the tiny cheeks of the babies with trembling fingers. The ship had barely landed at a secret medical facility when Palpatine appeared like a sinister shadow, flanked by clone troopers marching in formation. Lord Vader, I see your wife survived childbirth. How interesting and unexpected, he said, his tone laden with disapproval and cold calculation. But we still have unfinished business that must be resolved. Your former Padawan here is a Jedi, and you know that all Jedi must be eliminated for the safety of the Empire. Anakin immediately placed himself between Palpatine and Ahsoka, his saber igniting with a threatening sound. No, she's my apprentice, my responsibility. You won't touch her while I breathe. Palpatine laughed, a cold and calculating sound that echoed through the walls. I see your training is still not complete, my young apprentice. This Padawan has poisoned your mind against me from the beginning, planting seeds of doubt. She's a threat to the empire we will build. Anakin maintained his firm position, his saber not wavering. I said no. She saved Padme, saved my children. I won't kill her. Palpatine sighed theatrically, like a disappointed teacher. Then you leave me no choice, my young fool. If you cannot eliminate a single insurgent Jedi, you are not fit to be my apprentice and rule at my side. Lightning leaped from Palpatine's twisted fingers like electric serpents, but this time they aimed directly at Anakin. Ahsoka instantly leaped to her master's defense, her sabers forming a desperate shield against the devastating Force lightning. Together, Master, as we always did, she shouted, her voice struggling against the roar of electricity. Anakin joined her, their sabers working in perfect harmony as they had done 1,000 times in the Clone Wars, a deadly dance they knew by heart. But the lightning was relentless and powerful, pushing them back step by step. Ahsoka was struck directly by a bolt that broke through her defenses, thrown against the wall with brutal force, her body convulsing violently with electricity coursing through every nerve. Something inside Anakin broke completely at that devastating moment. He saw Ahsoka fallen and suffering, saw Padme holding their newborn babies with absolute fear, and all the darkness that Palpatine had planted in him was burned away by a righteous and protective fury. Enough! Never again will you hurt those I love, he roared, and all the power of the Chosen One awakened like a supernova. He pushed against the lightning with titanic force, advancing determined step by determined step against the storm of deadly electricity. his saber raised like a sword of justice. With a final cry that echoed through the Force, he broke through Palpatine's defenses and buried his blade deep in the wrinkled Sith Lord's chest. Palpatine fell to the floor like a rag doll, his yellow eyes fading to death, an expression of genuine surprise frozen on his face, disfigured by darkness. Anakin dropped his saber as if it burned his hands, running to Ahsoka with panic. "Snips, please, be okay, please," he begged, checking her pulse with trembling fingers. She coughed weakly, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth, opening her eyes slowly with visible effort. Still alive, Sky Guy. It'll take more than that to get rid of me," she murmured weakly, trying to smile through the pain. It was then that Obi-Wan and Yoda entered silently through the shadow, having infiltrated the medical facility prepared for a final battle against Vader. They saw the scene before them. Anakin kneeling beside wounded Ahsoka, Palpatine dead on the floor, Padme holding two tiny babies. "Skywalker," Obi-Wan began cautiously, his bright blue saber ready for action. Ahsoka raised her weak but determined hand. "Wait, Master Kenobi. He killed Palpatine. He saved me and Padme. The darkness is over. Anakin is back." The following days were a whirlwind of intense emotions and difficult decisions that would define the future. Anakin confessed everything to what remained of the Jedi Council with complete honesty. The massacre at the temple that cost so many innocent lives, his devastating fall to the dark side, his final redemption through love. "Revenge to the dark side will lead us. It will not," said Yoda, observing Anakin with sad but understanding eyes, weighing centuries of wisdom. "But still reparations to make, you have. Life dedicated to the Republic, you must. Work to undo the damage caused. But part of the Jedi Order, never again can you be. Too heavy, your burden is." Anakin accepted the sentence without protesting or arguing, knowing it was more than fair. He dedicated the following years to meticulously rebuilding what he had destroyed, working tirelessly day and night to help the galaxy recover from the bloody war, but always from outside the Jedi Order, always carrying the weight of his crimes. Padme remained faithfully by his side through everything, raising Luke and Leia in relative secrecy, protecting them from public scrutiny and the remnants of the Empire. And Ahsoka, along with Obi-Wan and Yoda, dedicated herself completely to rebuilding the Jedi Order from scratch, wiser and more compassionate than before, learning from the tragic mistakes of the past and patiently building a future where love and duty could coexist in harmony, where attachments didn't need to lead to darkness, where compassion was seen as strength and not weakness.